Okay, this is Stasia. I literally have to do this video today. I feel so compelled to speak about the big paradigms and infrastructures that we have been living under that are falling, that are shifting. Now, this can be applied to almost all of the main structures that you can think of. But I'm going to largely talk about the medical community. This is not to put down or to judge anyone I know who's working in that community, because first of all, I want to give praises to the ability to work and in the emergency situation, the emergency care that is available through the medical complex reality paradigm is, bar none, superb, saves lives all the time, saved my son's life. But I'm not going to speak about the emergency medical, because that's where I kind of feel like the care sort of should end, is with the emergency. And here's why. Here's the thing. We have been educated through the medical industry, or shall I say the medical doctors have been educated, not in a paradigm of health and healing, but in symptom prescribing and bandaging and basically just maintaining a level of survival with drugs and medication, and really not a model that speaks to the body's inherent wisdom and abilities. Now, this is not something new to me. This is something I've been aware of for several decades, maybe 3. But it's becoming very profoundly obvious to me in this process of working with healing, or rather remembering health with my 9-year-old son. And I'm seeing how deeply this reality has penetrated our collective. And so this is why I want to speak to this today, because here's the thing. Two realities, two paradigms are coexisting. I mean, many more, but in this case, around medicine and health, you have very cut down the middle the allopathic approach, the American Medical Association, the doctors of the Western medicine saying we have diagnosed a specific disease or illness or chronic condition. We see where the body has failed or is failing. I do that with one quote because it's just an untruth, and it's not that the body fails, it's that the body has not been properly supported and nourished. So the belief is, okay, this is where the body is failing, and this is what needs to be done in order to not die, or to die slower, or in some cases to die sooner, but hopefully alleviate some of the pain and suffering. But in some cases, it just amplifies the pain and suffering. So I want to talk about type 1 diabetes, because this is the window through which I've been afforded. But this goes with everything that the medical industry helps you cope with. Okay, so type 1, if you're not familiar, okay, I went into this whole thing believing that was an autoimmune disorder caused probably by a virus, and having some genetic propensity toward might, according to the medical community, genetics are basically the only thing that tell if you're going to get it, and they don't know when you're going to get it, and if you get it, then you just have it, and there's no way out, and it's just your pancreas, beta cells stop producing insulin, and boom, you have type 1, no going back. You will just count carbs and inject insulin forever and ever. But you can eat what you want, save maybe cutting out certain things, white sugars, but that's not even really spoken about either. It's really just carb count to insulin, end of story. So, that's the first red flag to me as a nutritionist, as a health practitioner, is that the body is not really being addressed for what's going on. So, some of you know I've been researching and practicing some alternative care with my son after finding a Dr. Robert Morse, naturopathic doctor, who suggested using fruit to balance blood sugar and then nourishing specific organs. So, it has proven itself to me in a very, after one meal, that fruit does not cause the body to need insulin. It simply goes right into the cells. It does not need insulin. So I have, since he's been on fruit, not given him insulin. So this doesn't mean I'm not seeing a little bit of fluctuation in his blood sugar, but I truly believe that we are in a process of cleansing. Okay, he's cleansing his lymph, he's cleansing his pancreas, he's cleansing his adrenal glands, his kidneys. We're just about to move to some colon, stomach formulas, some parasite cleansing, liver and gallbladder will come, and then the entire endocrine system, and these are different herbal formulas that he's rotating through. So with this cleansing process, I have no doubt that the stuff is being thrown off into his bloodstream that is cleansing, that is really causing the fluctuations, okay? So as I'm observing this, I'm going, okay, I know that when I just give him fruit, if I give him insulin and only fruit, his blood sugar drops dramatically. So I know he did not need that insulin for the fruit. If I give him just fruit, his blood sugar stays pretty even, but it's the formulas that he's taking for cleansing that I believe are causing a little bit of a fluctuation. This is where I'm looking at what's happening really, and where I have to move out of the paradigm of the medical world completely and really stop using the blood sugar test as a marker as to whether, because they're saying use it as a marker as to whether or not you need insulin, but we're going on like a month almost of no insulin. So I realize I have to really pull myself out of that paradigm completely, and that I'm not really working with an insulin, no insulin paradigm right now. I'm not really concerned with that because he's on only fruit. Now, eventually I will want to be concerned with that again, but the goal right now is to reset his autonomic nervous system, his adrenal functions, his entire endocrine system, make sure all of his organs and glands are cleansed and working at the height and peak of their possible working, to release trapped emotions that have built up around these organs. Now, this is a daily affair here. So I'm checking on every single organ. I'm checking the functioning of that organ that day, at what percentage it's working, if there's any emotions that are blocking it, which ones need to be cleared, clearing those, finding out what percentage now is the kidney, now is the pancreas. I'm asking the pancreas, are the beta cells working? Yes. How much? They were less than 40%. Now we're up to 70% beta cell functioning. So my feedback from the body, from the subconscious, because that's the work I do, is tap into that field and ask it. My work with him specifically is showing me, okay, there are so many factors at play. Yes, the food is keeping him balanced. Yes, the herbs are keeping him detoxing, but it's definitely critical to daily remove layers of emotions, because these have been the cause of this thing ultimately over a long period of time, is emotions that haven't been processed building up over time. So this is why I added this new element, if you saw my recent post today, of alchemical fragrances. So because I'm looking at always the larger perspective, that we're coming from wholeness, we're coming from a high frequency oneness, our authentic nature is perfect, whole, and complete. As we're dropping in vibration to density, we're taking on stuff into our subconscious mind from our parents, from our ancestors, and then from our early childhood. And then as we age, so I'm looking especially at him from 0 to age 7, what he's taken on, because, he's been through a lot of shifts. My life is kind of crazy, Sagittarius all over the place, and I've watched him as a Taurus boy have sometimes a difficult time with all the changes that he's been having to hold in some stuff. And this is ultimately for him, and I've mentioned this before, this has been a neurologically, I believe, induced diabetes. And I know this is possible not only from Dr. Morse, but listening to other people I've talked to saying, hey, my brother got type 1 after a sports injury when he was 22. And the only explanation for that is that it was neurological. It was having to do with the nervous system. And then also after operations where anesthesia was used, that has also caused a type 1, which the only possible solution for that is also the neurological cause. So I believe this is his problem. I don't believe it's his beta cells, though if he has high blood sugar at all, that can break down beta cells. So his blood sugar hasn't gotten too high. We've stayed around and under 170 and usually between 1 and 125, the normal. Sometimes a little higher, and sometimes he's gone as low as 55 or something. So there's some fluctuations a little bit, and we're watching that. He has an appointment with his medical doctor this month on the 22nd. So my goal is to have a nice record of what's going on before that. But my point is all the key elements in this, and that shifting away from what the medical community says wholly into a holistic approach. What other elements need to be addressed? Now, he's saying affirmations every day about his body, and I can tell that he is really getting into them. He is feeling them. He is concentrating on it. He is using stones, specific stones that accelerate the healing process, that are specific to blood sugar, that are specific to lymph and adrenal function, that are specific to releasing emotions. And he chose them out for himself, and he carries them around and wears them. We also do lymph massage. We do foot detox baths that are meant to pull garbage out of the body. We have done a lot of sound therapy, especially sound frequencies to remove black light frequencies of illusion. We've cut way down on his screen time, so his nervous system is not being affected by that. Let's see, we do an herb, Geminea sylvestra, at night, specific for regeneration of the beta cells of the pancreas. We massage adrenals. We are doing so many things. And this is where when I look at healing for anybody, you can't just do one thing. And I'm thinking also back to a friend of mine who was diagnosed with terminal cancer when oh my gosh, it's been over 10 years now. They gave him less than 2 months to live. They even said operation wasn't going to do anything. And I was participant. I watched and assisted him in the process of turning that around. Of course, the number one thing is his belief that he could, surrounding himself with other people that believed that he could, and then especially the meditations, the crystals, of course the nourishment and the herbs, but the metaphysical practices, the crystals, meditating. Tej is doing yoga every day. He's jumping on trampolines. We're like, all of the elements are a part of this to rebuild the self, to rebuild a remembrance of the self-care, of the wholeness of self. Because any disease is a breakdown. It's a dis-ease. It's a breakdown of the remembrance of the wholeness of the self, the whole person. So I feel this is important because we are breaking out of the paradigm that says you are broken. We are breaking out of the disease paradigm, out of the chronic illness paradigm. Those things are an illusion that we have bought into, that have contributed to the perpetual decay and dissolution and death of an immortal people, of people who we are part of the oneness. We are eternal beings. We cannot die. And, many people say that, but we still can die in the body or whatever. But we are here to spiritualize this flesh, I believe, and to live our highest potential in form. And part of this process I see for me and my family is remembrance of that. Remembrance of that is on every level, is beyond just food, is beyond one thing, is all the things. And it's relationship. I mean, my God, we've had some amazing emotional releases and healings between he and I and my two sons and I. And I mean, we've cried so many nights and in the bathroom on the floor and done Ho'oponopono together and just are having massive, massive healings and release. And I know this is what this is all about. So we're keeping it up. I will keep you posted. But if you are suffering, or if you have something that you felt is incurable or have been told it is, I just want to remind you that nothing's incurable because you are an eternal being and your birthright, your essence is wholeness. So to return to that is just to return all the cells and your intention to the remembrance of that wholeness. Okay, this video's gone kind of long, but I felt it was important to say, so thank you for staying with me if you did, and namaste.